Yes.
My guide to limoncello for Americans is, first of all, if they give you warm shot glasses, it's trash. You send it back. That's what you tell them. You say, I send it back.
That's true.
And they'll understand what you mean. Then, if it tastes like bullshit, such as lemon flavor added to vodka, that's what it is. And it's trash. You send it back. That's what you tell them. I send it back. And they'll understand. They might not understand. They might splash you in your eyes. I don't know. But welcome to A Grade, the podcast where a college professor and a middle school teacher taste, review, and grade America's best coffee roasters, craft breweries, and more. We have new episodes every Monday morning at 7 a.m. And if you want some pretty awesome bonus content, just hop on over to patreon.com/agradepodcast, where you can get behind the scenes pictures, videos, a report card of every place we have ever visited and reviewed, and a lot more. So again, that's over on patreon.com/agradepodcast. Head over there if you're interested. There should be a link in the description as well. My name is Joe, and I am joined, as always, of course, by none other than...
Hi, everybody. I'm Jackie.
And we are back.
Yes, we made it.
We are back from l'Italia.
After 2 days filled with travel, we are back home.
I don't know if that comes up on the microphone, me screaming into my hands, but I'm going to do it again.
It was quite a travel day yesterday.
Travel days, last couple of days. But yes, so obviously, if you're joining us for the first time, we normally review American craft breweries and coffee roasters because those are awesome places that don't get enough love, and they're often some of the best businesses we find out there. But we go to other places, and of course, sometimes we go to Italy.
Sometimes we do.
Like we did this last month, really.
Yes.
Unfortunately, if you go back and listen to our last episode, you can hear the absolutely horrendous audio quality. And that, of course, was the result of the fact that our soundboard plug exploded.
Basically blew up. It could have been a lot worse, actually. I was afraid that we knocked out all of the power for Rome altogether.
Well, the lights actually went off in the Airbnb, and my immediate thought was, wow, this is how we get extradited out of Italy.
Yes, we're in big trouble. I need to send a really weird text message to the Airbnb host.
Yeah. We may have blown up your Airbnb.
I don't know. It also smelled crazy like burning wire.
Well, that was because the surge protector did its job, which was it blew up, essentially. It actually cracked. I wish I took a picture of it, but it actually cracked and fried the circuitry or whatever inside the wiring inside. The good news about all of that is that the soundboard is fine.
Yes.
We had a backup plug back home, but the bad news is, of course, we weren't back home. So we had to wait until we got home to get the right plug, and here we are. We're back.
And we're back. And
it sounds much better. I know for sure.
And in the meantime, we have some random bonus content on YouTube, our YouTube channel, if you want to check it out. Some people have really liked those videos, especially the McDonald's reviews.
Yeah, we went in deep.
So head over there if you're interested in our grading of McDonald's.
Yeah, we have some fun content on YouTube just for fun. Of course, the main stuff is here. This is the real gold. But anyways, long story short, we basically, as we had planned, wanted to review several different locations in Italy. And we kind of divided it up into the 4 areas that we really spent time in, which were Florence, Rome, Sorrento, and the Amalfi Coast. So basically what we're going to do the next few episodes is take time reviewing one of those places at a time. And we're going to give a grade, not of the city itself, but our experience within those places.
Yeah, so we did do some discussing beforehand, and we actually think that our rubric that we use for coffee roasters and craft beer breweries works perfectly for cities as well.
Yeah.
So we're going to go through each city. We're going to talk about atmosphere and ambiance, service, food, and drink in those cities.
And it kind of seems like it works.
It works, I think, really well. And I'm actually kind of excited because I think it's going to be a nice reference point to kind of get us through and wrap our heads around how we would grade each city.
Yeah. And there's so much that I can't wait to say, especially because obviously we're going to be talking about our coffee and beer and food and drink experiences in these places. There's so much to say about that on its own, but also in relation to our experiences back home and why we go specifically to normally coffee roasters and craft breweries as opposed to coffee shops and bars, which we also do, but that's not what we feature for very specific reasons that we've talked about in the past in episodes. And it's really enlightening, I think, based on our experiences in Italy, why we're going to continue to do that.
Yeah, and I think I'm kind of excited for this rubric in general when we're talking about travel locations as well, because I think and I hope that if you're listening, whether you listen for beer content or coffee content or just in general, hopefully this might be helpful if you're planning your own trip or looking for places to go.
Oh, we're going to have recommendations on what to do and what to avoid.
And what not to do.
Oh, yes, definitely. Yeah.
Yes.
Number one, do not get in a cab in Naples.
Oh, yes.
You might not make it, but if you do, you're going to be ahead of schedule.
If you make it, you're going to make it in record-breaking time.
Record-breaking time. Light speed time.
Yes. I still am having like flashbacks of that cab ride.
Anyways, yeah, so let's get into it. I guess
let's do it.
We're going to start today with Florence.
Yes.
Which was, of course, our first stop. We flew into Rome, but we immediately took a train from the Rome. Well, we took a train from the Rome airport to the city of Rome.
Yes.
And then, which is like half an hour. And then we took a train from there to Florence, which was, how long was it? Maybe
an hour and 15 minutes.
Yeah.
It's a bullet train or a fast train, like they call it in Italy, and it gets you there really fast. It's probably one of the fastest trains I've been on.
Yeah. And of course, as well, since normally when we do an episode, we talk about a place right after we've experienced it. The problem with the soundboard situation was that it's been almost a month now since we were in Florence. And I remember it really well, but we figured we'd just take a few minutes to go through. And luckily, Jackie takes meticulous notes in her travel journal. So she's going to read through her travel journal and help refresh our minds, particularly mine, because I know that there are very specific experiences that I want to refresh and be able to reflect upon as we give our grades. So do you want to start going through?
Sure. And the last thing I'll say before I start is I think it's also going to be helpful that we did the whole trip before we start these individual episodes, because each city has its own culture, its own feel, its own ambiance, its own atmosphere. So it'll be interesting to see how they compare now that we have the big picture.
Yeah, that's a good point too.
Okay, so I'll start with our recap. Joe, chime in as much or as little as you'd like. I'm going to read through my journal and you'll hear about some of the things that we did in Florence. So when we got there, it was really interesting because, first of all, it was bizarrely easy to go through Italian customs.
Yeah, suspiciously easy.
We've heard some like nightmares about travel stories, and we have some of our own. But getting from Rome to Florence, from the Rome airport to Florence, was suspiciously easy.
That was one of the easiest parts of the traveling.
Right.
Yeah.
We had no trouble at all. When, as you said, we took a speed train and it went through all of these beautiful Tuscan valleys, and we went through villages that you can see that were set up like in front of and behind mountains, sunflower fields, wine orchards everywhere, and rolling green fields.
Yeah, I think going through Tuscany like that was such a cool initial experience. However, I didn't get much sleep the night before, and I didn't sleep on the plane, and I was so jet lagged. I was struggling so hard to keep my eyes open on the train because it was so beautiful.
Yes.
So that train ride alone is already adding to my atmosphere and ambiance grade, because it's such a beautiful way to enter the city of Florence, is just kind of deliriously viewing the rolling countryside of Tuscany in your manic state of just jet lag. Whatever, dementia as you head into Florence. Really beautiful stuff.
Yeah. So when you arrive into Florence, you arrive at a train station, and Florence is very small. So you can walk very easily. We walked from the train station to a cafe to have lunch, which was close to our Airbnb while we were waiting to check in.
Was that Ben's Cafe? Okay.
So the first place we went was Ben's Cafe. It was on a little corner cobblestone street, and we had some food there, which we'll probably talk about. We had our first coffees in Florence, in Italy. We had eggs and toast, which became a big staple of our trip, and fresh pressed orange juice.
Oh, I remember that's where I first was introduced to fresh pressed orange juice, which blew my mind because I'm so used to just diarrhea orange juice in America that's mostly whatever fake sugar. And it was pretty standard where you would go somewhere and get that fresh orange juice stuff. So yeah, something for the drink category points for sure.
Yeah, it was a good first experience because it really did encompass a lot of what we did for the rest of the trip.
Yeah.
We were able to check in early to our Airbnb, which was amazing. And then we took a nice 2-hour nap, which was very necessary as well.
It was highly necessary, severely necessary. Yes.
So in Florence, everything is on one side of the river, but you can walk over bridges, one called the Ponte Vecchio, which has on the bridge shops, old churches, cobblestone streets. It's just beautiful.
It's kind of like that bridge in London, right?
Yeah.
But a smaller version.
Right.
And it's a pedestrian bridge, so it's just people walking, which is really cool.
So we went over to the other side of the river the first night we were there, and we went to a place called Borgo Antico, and it's in Piazza Santo Sprinto. It was our first meal in Italy. We sat outside, which is another common feature for everywhere we ate pretty much in Florence. And we sat in the square. There was shade. You get a table. Waiters and waitresses come over. We ordered our first pizza, and it was really a great start. We were overlooking a beautiful church and sitting outside in a square where there's people and it's so alive. And it was just a really good start. Then after that, we went and got beers at a brewery, which was the only, I think, brewery that we had found in the entire trip. And it was called Archaea Brewery.
Yeah.
Yes. We'll talk about that a little, I think, when we get to the drink session.
Yeah, definitely.
But they had honey ales, they had session IPAs. It was definitely a locals bar, but it was awesome to start our trip at a brewery because it was the only brewery we were actually able to find in Italy altogether.
Yeah.
So that night we walked back to the hotel. We fell asleep early. And the next day was our full day in Florence.
Yeah, we were only in Florence for one full day. We had the travel day, one full day, and then we left basically the following one, which is crazy because as you're describing it, I thought that we did a lot in Florence. And when you were recapping on our way home yesterday, I thought we were in Florence for a week.
Yeah, we got to see a lot.
It felt so much longer.
And we'll talk about this later, but Florence is a relatively compact city, which is why I think people love it so much, is that you can get the feel of it in one day.
Yeah.
Which is amazing. But you can also spend a year there. You know, there's so much there.
Yeah, there's so many study abroad programs there.
Yeah.
And I'm not surprised why.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
So the second day we woke up super early because we had a ticket to climb the famous Duomo.
Yeah.
At 8:15.
That was a highlight of the trip for me, climbing the Duomo.
A highlight of the trip. So where we actually climbed was called Bushnelli's Dome. And, over the next couple of podcast episodes, excuse my pronunciations or feel free
stupido americano.
Correct me. I'm gonna do the best I can for things that I can't exactly say right. I apologize in advance, but I hope this is helpful for you as I go through it. So when we climbed the dome, we went in and you climb 473 steps to the very top.
That is hilarious that you say that now, because I remember doing that and thinking, wow, that's a lot of steps. The last episode we'll do, a few from now, about the Amalfi Coast.
Yeah.
400 steps is child's play.
That was just to our room.
No, not even. 400 steps is just getting up to the Airbnb from the piazza that you already walked 1,000 steps to get up to.
Yes.
So, yeah, Duomo is not a problem. But I'm glad we started there.
I'm glad we started with
before
that.
the Amalfi Coast, because the other way wouldn't have been good.
Right.
However, if we had done the Duomo after the Amalfi Coast, it would have been
easy,
a breeze.
A breeze.
And it still wasn't terrible.
No.
But that was one of my favorite experiences of the trip. If you like history or even feeling as if you're in a castle or something, because there are those confined spiral tunnels and staircases and that sort of thing, I 10 out of 10 recommend that.
And I still...
if you're claustrophobic, maybe not.
No. Yeah. Definitely don't do this. My mom, who's probably listening right now, Mom, you cannot climb the Duomo.
Seriously, it's not...
You would panic.
It's not for claustrophobic people, I don't think. Yeah.
No, not at all.
But if you think you can handle it, it's worth it.
And honestly, I thought, we'll talk about this later too, but I thought the Duomo was probably one of the most impressive things that I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, it was amazing.
When you turn a corner, it takes your breath away. It is the biggest cathedral with this dome on top that I'll talk about more in my journal when we get to it in the recap. But I mean, it is worth seeing. Yeah. It is worth going to Florence just for the Duomo.
And you do get to see the inside while you're climbing it, because there's a part where you go around. There's a full sort of balcony on the inside once you go up maybe halfway, and you can see the full paintings on the inside of the dome, and it's unbelievable. again, we'll talk about that compared to some of these other places. I think next week we'll talk about Rome, because that was the second city we stayed in, and comparing that to something like the Sistine Chapel. But spoiler alert, I thought the Duomo was way more impressive for reasons that we'll talk about when we talk about the shit show that the Vatican was that day, just because it was so crowded. But even artistically, I was just blown away by everything about the inside of that dome, as well as the outside of it.
Yeah, if you're in Florence, it is such an inexpensive tour.
It's the thing to do. It's the thing to do.
It gets you tickets to other things as well. So if you buy one ticket, you have access to climb the Duomo, go to the top of the dome. You also have access to all the museums on the property and some other, random stuff. It was really, really incredible, and it's going to go pretty high. It's going to really factor into my atmosphere and ambiance grade for the city.
Yeah, for sure.
So as we were walking to the top, some of the steps are curved, some are straight, some go around the arch. At one point, you go inside, like you said, and you get up close to the Judgment Day painting that's on the ceiling. That's what the paintment is called. I mean, it's massive.
Yeah, it's really cool.
At the top, when you make it, you go outside and you get a glorious view of the city below. And it's actually a 360-degree view, because you can walk all the way around. And they do not rush you. You have all the time you want.
Which is really nice compared to a lot of other things where you do feel rushed in Italy.
And getting the first appointment is really, really important.
Because, I think that was a good move, yeah.
Yeah, because there would probably be a line inside the steps if you go later in the day. Because there is somebody, blocking when you can come up and go down. And I'm sure that they have a limit of how many people can be up there.
When we went down, when we were ready to go down, it was packed.
It was packed.
So picking the first one was key. I say, and again, this is going to come up more than once in the upcoming episodes. If you have the option of the earliest possible tour, take it.
Take it.
And I'm not a morning person, and I'm saying this because it's such a different experience to get there and not be rushed, as opposed to being cattle card and not able to breathe, and just the stress of all of that. So that probably helped with this experience, but I think it's a miraculous experience regardless.
Miraculous.
I should say as well, if you've ever played Assassin's Creed, which I know you haven't, but if you have, this is also a must do.
Video game corner.
Yeah, video game. This week's episode, this episode's video game corner. Yeah, if you've played Assassin's Creed, you know exactly what I'm referring to, of that architecture and design, and you can sort of get that vibe of, oh yeah, this is what that is supposed to be, which is really cool. It's just something that came to mind when we were there.
And going from video game corner, I'll go into a little history corner, because I did some research.
Oh, maybe I'll play some history music.
Ooh, yeah.
No, I'm not doing that.
Oh, come on.
I don't know how to do that.
We'll figure it out.
That means I have to figure it out.
I'll help. I'll watch.
Okay, thanks.
Some info
Thank you for your support.
About the Duomo that I learned is that the church itself was built in the year 1296. However, they did not have the technology yet to build the dome, and the dome was built later in 1436, or finished.
It took 200 years to figure it out?
Yes.
That's crazy.
Yes.
That'd be like if we started building a spaceship today and they said, well, we don't know how to build the sci-fi part. Well, we'll wait until it's sci-fi time. It'll only take 200 years.
I mean, that's forward thinking.
I guess so,
That's like really forward thinking.
That's impressive.
It's super impressive. And it was not impressive just to us. It was impressive back then as well.
Oh,
it actually
God,
became,
can you imagine?
That dome itself became a model. The specific way that they built it became a model for how domes were built in the Renaissance all over Italy, and probably beyond.
It's the OG dome. It's the GOAT.
When they were talking about St. Peter's Basilica in Rome, Michelangelo, what he said about that was that I am going to make the Duomo's sister. It's going to be bigger, but not more beautiful. And nice. I thought that was just a great quote. And
that's Mike for you. Magic Mike, baby.
Michelangelo, who's like, we'll talk about later. But last thing that I wrote down for the history corner is that the doors on one of the buildings in the Duomo complex.
Oh, right. Yeah. Because it's a bunch of big buildings.
Yes.
Yeah.
Are rumored, and in history and lore, to have been the first thing that was actually made during the Renaissance, the birth of the Renaissance, because it was a competition for who could create the best doors. And it kind of sparked some creativity, and it brought alive the city of Florence, which is considered the birth of the Renaissance.
Yeah.
And whether that's true or not, I love the story. It helps give you a feel for what's going on.
Yeah, that's one of those stories where who cares if it's true?
It doesn't need to be real. Yeah. It is as real to me as if it wasn't.
It does the job. It gets the point done.
Exactly.
Okay.
So after that, we had brunch at a wonderful little restaurant called Mela Lucia.
Oh, the one on the water.
Yes.
Yeah, that was really good.
It's a cute cafe right on the Arno River near Ponte Alley Bridge. Again, we had toast, iced coffee. You had a bagel. We tried croissants. I mean, we ate.
Did I get a pour over coffee there?
No, you did the day before at Ben's Cafe.
Yeah, okay.
Yes. Right. After that, we took an incredible walk up to the Piazza Michelangelo, which again, I'd highly recommend if you go to Florence.
That was cool, yeah.
It's kind of like an off the beaten path place, but what happens is you walk up and you have a sweeping view of the entire city. It was really, really hot. Like everywhere. So after that, we went.
I have a new love for air conditioning.
Beautiful, but we went back to the hotel and took a nap.
I also.
Yes.
I was in Italy for how long were we there? 3.5 weeks, maybe.
Yeah.
I probably took 1,000 showers.
Yes.
Every chance I got, I just took a cold shower, and I'm not a cold shower guy, but I am one now.
We took a lot of showers.
Yeah, it was necessary. It was so hot, but worth it.
Yeah. After we woke up, we felt like exploring a little. So part of the Duomo ticket gets you into the Museum dell'Opera Duomo.
Oh, that was really cool.
Which was incredible. Yeah. And spoiler alert, my favorite museum of the trip.
Spoiler alert. Don't go to the stupid statue of David.
Don't go to the statue of David.
Because we said, well,
Good point.
Why don't we check it out anyway, see if there's a line. Literally couldn't see the beginning of the line. It was so many blocks long.
And it didn't matter if you had pre-planned tickets or anything. You still had to wait in line to get into this museum and see the David.
And the museum we went to instead is right behind the Duomo in that piazza or square or whatever.
And it's part of your ticket to climb the Duomo. And everyone's going to see Michelangelo's David, which of course is amazing. But the museum, the Duomo Museum has 3 incredible sculptures done by Michelangelo in one room.
Just go there.
And it's not crowded. Yeah. And you get to look at Michelangelo's art, and they have something from when he was young, like one of his first ones, something in the middle of his career and towards the end. And I mean, it was striking. It was
really cool.
Some of the most beautiful things I've ever seen.
Some of those sculptures were unbelievable with the detail. The detail. You could see the bones and the feet and veins, and it's just mind-boggling.
I want to cry just thinking about it. Like it was actually like emotional for me to see Michelangelo's art. I never actually like spoke to me before this time. I thought it was really, really beautiful. And again,
there was no line to get into that.
You can appreciate stuff when there aren't crowds around in a way that you can't. It's almost worth seeing the less impressive stuff but it's not even that less impressive.
I don't even know if it's less impressive because there was also, I think there was a piazza a few minutes walk from our Airbnb that had a giant, maybe bronze statue of David. And I think it was supposed to be to spec. Like it was
an exact replica.
Right. So I said, we basically saw it. It's big, it's impressive, whatever. Let's go. That cool museum has actual statues that were amazing.
Yeah. Shout out to the Rick Steves guidebook, which told us about that.
Hashtag Rick Steves, hashtag
the best.
Share us, Rick Steves, please, if you're listening.
So that's the museum, one of my favorite museums of the trip. After that, we relaxed and we went to dinner at a wonderful restaurant that was recommended to us by my friend. Shout out to my friend Melanie, who I work with. If you're listening, thank you for the recommendations. It was one of our favorite dinners. And we had dinner and a bottle of wine. The place was called Fattoria Rossi. And I wrote that it was so good. We got a spritz, a drink, a mojito, a bottle of wine, an app, which was meat and cheese that they made there, garlic bread, bruschetta.
2 types of garlic bread, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
Bruschetta.
Yeah. Bruschetta.
Pasta, a pork and cheese salad. And when I say pork, I mean like Italian, local,
magic
meat.
Yeah.
And a cheese plate for only 76 euro.
And I think we calculated that would cost, I don't know, maybe $200 here back in New York, plus maybe a few toes, maybe a foot. They would charge you as well. So unbelievably well priced, and that's something that's going to keep coming up as we continue talking,
especially in Florence and Rome.
Florence and Rome especially. Things were a little pricier down south, where it was a little more touristy maybe, but it was plenty touristy here, and the prices were so mind-bogglingly reasonable, and even unreasonable at points, where in terms of it being cheap, that we loved it for that reason.
It was incredible. We did do a little ranking in my journal, and we gave that restaurant itself an A- overall, which, looking back, I think it deserves it.
It was great.
It was great.
Yeah.
After that, we went back towards the Duomo. We hung out there because there's a really good bar atmosphere feel around the Duomo, where all the shops kind of are, people are still eating dinner, people are drinking. We wanted to find some limoncello. We did. It was terrible limoncello that we found.
Worst limoncello I've ever had. We became limoncello addicts on this trip.
And we've had great limoncello, but this was the worst of it.
It was trash limoncello.
But it was a bar. We went to a bar.
So I learned about limoncello for Americans.
Yes.
My guide to limoncello for Americans is, first of all, it has to be cold. So you want it frozen, the bottle in a freezer, and you want the shot glasses also in a freezer. If they give you warm shot glasses, it's trash. You send it back. That's what you tell them. You say, I send it back.
That's true.
And they'll understand what you mean. Then what you want to taste for is that it should taste like, if you know what lemon drop candy tastes like, it should taste like
an Italian ice, like a lemon Italian ice.
Should taste like the alcoholic version of those. If it tastes like bullshit, such as lemon flavor added to vodka, that's what it is, and it's trash. You send it back. That's what you tell them. I send it back, and they'll understand. They might not understand. They might splash in your eyes. I don't know, but that's sort of what I learned. And the one that we got there in Florence was the gross flavored made up one.
Probably the only bad limoncello I had the entire trip.
Yeah, there were definitely different grades of limoncello, though. There was definitely mediocre limoncello and great limoncello the rest of the trip. That was the only one that I said, this is bad limoncello.
Yes.
So, yeah.
You heard it here, guys.
You heard it here.
Limoncello tip corner.
You heard it here. You send it back.
So that was the conclusion of our night in Florence. The next morning, we woke up and unfortunately had to pack up and leave Florence. We stopped at a really small little bar, nothing super flashy or fancy. It was called Bar San Pranziano. We got a croissant, a coffee, and we walked to the train station to head to Rome.
Yeah.
And that concludes our Florence recap.
See?
What an incredible 2 days it was.
I'm still blown away that was only really 2 days at most. I mean, maybe technically less if you break it down by hour, but there's so much to do there. Again, as we were saying earlier, I get why people do study abroad programs there. I'm definitely going to push for that at my university. So I'm going to work on that. But
yeah, I feel like
it's a really cool place. It's worth going out of your way to go to.
We only scratched the surface, and I would love to definitely go back and see more of the history and art and museums.
The stupid David statue.
The food. The David statue.
Yeah. Anyways.
Let's get into it.
Atmosphere and ambiance.
So,
what do you think?
Since I've just talked a lot, you start us off with atmosphere and ambiance. What is your grade and why?
So, I'm going to go, this is a little tricky, right? Because when we normally grade atmosphere and ambiance, we're in one place. We're going to a craft brewery or a coffee roaster or wherever else. Here, we're kind of all over the place, but we're still in the city. So there's a lot of different tertiary factors going on. Like, do I count travel? Is travel service? Is that part of the atmosphere and ambiance? And I the other thing too is like, is this an Italy scale? Or is this an any city I've been to?
Any city you've been to scale. Because I think we should use this rubric
for
when we travel in the future, and we can use it around the world.
I'm glad we're figuring this out now.
Yes, you guys are seeing the thought process live and on air.
So we've basically covered everything that we like about it and things that maybe we didn't like. There were a couple of other things. The one thing, there were a couple of experiences that were kind of sketchy. Remember that guy with the soccer ball?
Yes.
Well, I don't know what that was about, but there was this guy.
Scary.
There was a scary dude who was kicking a soccer ball just in the middle of the city. And when I say kick it, I mean he was, what's the version of like hurling a ball
aggressively,
but aggressively kicking the soccer ball very near people eating and drinking.
I think purposely trying to hit tourists.
I think he was trying to hit tourists. He was a sniper to try to hit tourists with a soccer ball. And I think he was just trying to start shit. That was the vibe I got, that this dude's nuts, and which makes sense. There's plenty of nutso people here. There's got to be nutso people there. I don't know what his deal was, but he kind of weirded me out. Also, when you go into the city more, and when I say city, I mean the bullshit stuff, like just grid and McDonald's restaurants and Starbucks and that sort of thing. I think you can find that stuff in Florence, but it's up more away from the downtown, which is
by the David.
The downtown is this sprawling cobblestone.
By the Duomo is cobblestone.
Yeah, just curving streets and the tall buildings like you imagine in Renaissance Italy. It's basically a Renaissance town down there. That I would give an A to. But
even up by the where we went to the Piazza Michelangelo over there.
Yeah.
A little more local.
So that I would give an A to, but when it becomes a little more city-like, it kind of loses all of that charm pretty quickly. So I don't know. I mean, if I had to pick a letter grade for atmosphere and ambiance just based on all of that, is there anything else that I'm missing in terms of sketchiness or highlights that we liked?
The one thing, I feel like we highlighted a lot about what we loved. And for me, the big things I loved was the feel of history, the Renaissance in that city. And it felt so alive. The past felt so alive walking through the cobblestone streets of Florence. And it's so compact and small that you can really feel safe and know your way around there and feel like it's a manageable city. What I didn't like about Florence was not the fault of the city of its own. So I don't even know how to put this in, but there are so many tourists and so many people walking through the streets.
Yeah, well, that might have been like the time that we went
to. During the day, going to the Duomo is like, you know, you're kind of, it's hard to experience it well because it's really hot and there's a lot of people.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I mean, maybe if we were there in December, it would be a different like sort of experience. Sure, yeah. But that did impact my experience on this trip, especially during the day, that it was a little overwhelming with the amount of people.
Yeah, I'm going to go for atmosphere and ambiance. I'm going to go A-. I think it's overall outstanding. Maybe, I don't know. I'm trying to think now compared to other cities, because there's definitely other cities that people love. And I think that's kind of a trash city. I'm not going to name names right now, but I'm like, that city doesn't do it for me.
Name names.
No, I'm not naming names. I'll name names when we review these cities, when we review these places. Stay tuned for more.
All right, fine.
But I think it's overall, it's unbelievable. It's fantastic. But I don't know. What do you think?
I, on a world scale, went with an A- as well. I mean, out of all the places we've been in the world, this is one of the coolest places I've ever seen. The Duomo is insane. The food prices are insane. The gelato and pastries are insane.
We both, I think I asked you and you agreed that the city it reminds me of, strangely enough, in some ways, maybe it's the environment around it, but it reminded me of Spokane, Washington.
It did.
I don't know why, because but something about there was something in the air. I don't know what it was.
Yeah.
There was a particle, and I don't know what it's called or what it is or what it does, but it reminded me of Spokane. Maybe it was the fact that the river goes right through the middle of the city, but that's so beautiful. That's a lot of cities.
But some cities,
but it was as if Spokane had like really cool Renaissance stuff everywhere.
Yeah,
that's sort of, and Spokane is cool. We loved Spokane last summer when we drove through there, but that was something that was weirdly stuck out to me.
Yeah, the Duomo was one of the most impressive things I've ever seen. The Piazza Michelangelo was amazing. Yeah.
All right. So what do you think for service? The service next?
Yes.
Yeah.
Service is also tricky because we're encompassing everything. And I feel like the best service experience we probably had in Florence was when we went to the restaurant on the last night.
Oh, the one by the construction site.
Yes, the one that we gave an A- to.
Yeah, it was really good.
Yeah, really good that my friend recommended.
It was by a construction site, but despite that, we still gave it an A-.
We still gave it an A-.
It's funny because we took a bunch of pictures for Instagram.
Yes.
And in the background, there's just all this construction, but who cares? It's amazing.
It was still amazing.
Yeah,
it was still so worth it.
Yeah.
And he even remembered my friends who had recommended it when they went there on their honeymoon, which was really cool. He was our best probably service experience. Overall, in the restaurants in Florence, I feel like we had decent service. Nothing other than that really stands out to me. A lot of service experiences you get in Italy, it's kind of like you don't have one waiter or waitress. It's everybody's helping everybody.
Which is funny because the first maybe couple weeks there, we almost thought that the service wasn't as good as back home because of stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then the more we started thinking about it, we started realizing this might just be a cultural difference and we're just being ignorant Americans, which, I mean, that's part of the experience. You got to go in being ignorant.
A little bit.
And that was something that once I realized, I thought, oh, okay, that makes sense that it's just different. And but at the same time, I don't know if I like that better. I kind of like in America how you have somebody and they say, oh, I'm going to be serving you today.
I'm your person.
How are you? Where are you from? What are you doing? Because we still did get that in instances, as in that restaurant that we were at. The guy was talking to us, asking us where we were. So it is possible. Some places do it, but you don't get it a lot. So that was something that definitely stood out to me as well. So what do you think for service grade?
I think for service, even comparing it to other cities we've been to and other cities in Italy we've been to, I think the service in Florence was probably a B-.
Yeah, I was going to go B. I thought it was pretty good, and thinking at least compared to Italy, but compared to other cities throughout the world, I thought it was definitely above average. But again, there is that difference that I don't know if it's necessarily what I look for, but it was still really good. I mean, overall, it was a very positive experience. Yeah, definitely.
I agree. Nothing striking or bad.
Nobody laughed in my face at trying to talk in Italian, but there were definitely a lot of people who weren't interested.
They just want to talk in English.
And that was unanimous across Italy.
And they're busy.
Yeah, that wasn't relegated to Florence.
Yes.
That was something that I saw in many places I went to. But there were other people who thought, see, you know, you're trying stupido americano.
Oh, yeah.
And I said, sì. Yeah, molto stupido.
That's me, yes.
Yeah.
Food.
So food, I thought here, I really like the food in Florence.
Me too.
So the thing I noticed, the main sort of difference between the north and the south is the north seems more, I don't know if you would call it rustic, but it's more like meats and cheeses and that sort of vibe.
Great point.
Whereas the south is seafood.
Fish.
Molto pesce. Everywhere.
Fish
pasta, just fish. They'll bring you lobsters to look at and then smash its head and wring it dry and fry it in front of you.
It is not a place for vegetarians.
It's not a place
in the South.
Yeah, in the South. Yeah. But at the same time, I really liked the food in Florence. I thought it was very well balanced too. It wasn't like it was a bunch of heavy meats and cheeses. Even that pork cheese thing that you got was somehow very light. It was very filling at the same time. The cafe food that we had was great.
The breakfast that we had everywhere, the toast, the croissants. I felt like Florence was my second favorite place out of all the places for food.
I think I agree with you.
And I
think I know which one
that maybe
you're talking about.
Yes. Maybe if we spent a little more time in Florence and had tried more things, it might even be our favorite. You know, we had less dining options just because we had less time.
Yes, true.
But I thought the food was top notch. I don't remember going to a city in America, to be honest, where I've liked the food as much.
Yeah, I'm going to go. Oh, wait, you go.
No, you go.
I go.
Yes.
I'm going to go A- for the food. I thought it was overall outstanding.
What is it that makes you go A-? What would you want better?
I'm trying to think now. I'm panicking. I don't remember.
Because I feel like for me, if I compare it to other cities, in America, my favorite city for food, surprisingly, is Philly. I feel like we've had the best food in Philly. Right?
All the Philly episodes we did, we were like, great food again.
The food.
Yeah.
But I would put the food in Florence on par with Philly.
I think it was that first night that we ate. I kind of felt like the food was just good.
Yeah, that's the first restaurant we went to.
Yeah.
That was also before I had a really good system for figuring out
and also
how to find
the
good
pizza
restaurants.
Compared to pizza we had throughout the rest of Italy, it was good, but it wasn't as good as a lot of the other pizza we had.
That's true.
So I think that's why, again, more and more I just go with my gut. I don't know. I feel like it's an A-.
Yeah, I still was curious, like what you were thinking. Because
I wasn't thinking. I was feeling. I'm an American.
I don't think.
No, I don't have to. I can feel.
I'm
a real boy. I'm a real American boy. All right, just give your grade.
I was going to go A just because I loved it so much.
I won't argue that.
Yeah, I just loved it so much. I thought it was like I said, it was my second favorite, but probably one of my favorite city foods in the world.
Okay. And what about drink then?
For drinks, the first thing I want to say, I think it's my turn.
Yeah, go for it.
The first thing I want to say is that you are in the Tuscany region and you get to drink the amazing Tuscany wines.
And there was some good wine. I mean, we didn't
such good wine.
We didn't have a chance to have a lot of it, but the wine that we had was really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I loved all the wines. I really liked the coffee in Florence. We had some good coffee. We were able to get a pour over for you, which was one of the few, and a brewery.
Yeah, so very briefly, because this is something that we were trying to figure out and doing our research to prepare for the trip. Where are all the coffee roasters and breweries? Obviously, the brewery part is simple enough because you don't think of beer when you think of Italy. You think of wine, and there's a lot of wineries, obviously. But at the same time, they still drink a lot of beer in Italy. They still drink Peroni, and there's Stella. There's beer there, and we saw people drinking it. We drank it. But it's different. They don't have the culture that we have where you have a craft brewery set up and you can go there and drink beer. There are people who brew and they seem in general to distribute to bars. And that's where you go to get craft beer. Same thing with coffee. There aren't these coffee roasters like in America where you can go to and meet the roasters and try their beans. Maybe there are and we just didn't find them because whatever. But more or less, there was just a lot of great coffee that people sourced from specific roasters and featured in their cafes. So that was the main distinction that I feel as if we learned through our coffee and beer experience there. And luckily in Florence, the first stop, we did find it was a brewery, but still it wasn't like America where you had the fermenter tanks and the brewery equipment.
And it featured
craft beer
from lots of different breweries in Italy.
In Florence in particular. And the brewery had some really good beers. They had that honey ale that we tried.
Yes.
I forget what I graded it maybe at the time, but I remember thinking that it was B+.
I had a pretty good Pilsner, B+ Pilsner.
I remember thinking it was really good beer and it was very distinct. It was different. They still had IPAs and stuff that you would find in America, interestingly enough. And
AIPAs, American IPAs as well.
Yeah, American IPAs, APAs. And in terms of coffee, that was something else where we didn't find a lot of pour overs. We'll talk next week about Rome, the one pour over we did, I think I did have, which was an interesting experience. But here in Florence, I had that one at Ben's Cafe, which was good. I mean, it was above average, maybe.
And I had an iced coffee, an iced latte here. That was one of our best of the trip, if you remember. That
was really good. And that's sort of something else we learned, that the strength of Italian coffee right now, at least, isn't in fancy lattes and pour overs. Like that's what in America, if you want really great coffee, you want to try to find. In Italy, you want to find a really well-balanced cappuccino and really well-balanced espresso.
And a really clean espresso machine with someone who really knows how to use it.
Which in general you will find. Yes. That's part of the culture and it's way cheaper. And we learned that the average espresso and cappuccino together cost about $2.50 on average, whereas back home here in New York, one espresso shot might run you $3.
When we do reviews for the podcast in America, if we go to a coffee roaster, you know, we're going to a small business, so we don't mind spending the money. But we go in, and if we order two drinks and a small something to try, we're normally spending at least $30.
Well, yeah, it starts to add up really quickly.
It adds up quick, especially if we buy a little merch or a bag of beans or something like that. Yeah. And we don't mind because
we've spent hundreds of dollars at places.
Fundati.
Shout out Fundati.
But we don't mind because we're supporting a small business and we want the mugs and we want the merch and we want to rep the small businesses.
Yeah.
But in Italy, I think, you know, we talked about some of the prices, but even some of the coffee we had in Florence, we're spending $6 and we're getting 2 coffees and a pastry that is made in the back,
which is unbelievable.
Bakery.
Yeah.
And with like the highest of quality ingredients, especially the food. But I do love, we'll talk about this later, but I do love our Long Island coffee roasters.
Oh yeah, 100%.
So that was really great to come back and get really excited to check out some more coffee roasters here, because America does have something really unique, it seems like,
which is actually,
when it comes to this.
It was something that I was really excited thinking about the podcast and how this is why we review these places back home. But anyways, so for drinks, I thought overall there were some really good ones.
We did have a bad limoncello.
So that's why my grade for drinks is going to be A-.
Same.
Because those shit limoncellos that I had bring it down. Otherwise, I think
they brought it down.
I think it's A grade because you have these amazing Tuscan wines. You have some interesting stuff going on with some of these coffees and the just really good, well-balanced Italian coffees in general. I thought overall it was great.
So did I.
Wow. So what do we have for our tally for Florence?
So our report card for our first city
report card.
Apparently,
you're back in America.
Did we go to the South on this trip or Boston?
Get your report cards.
do like a baseball thing. Get your report cards here.
Report cards. Get your report cards. All right, just read the grades.
Okay.
What's wrong with you?
For atmosphere and ambiance, Joe gave an A-. I gave an A-. For service, Joe gave a B. I gave a B-. For food, Joe gave an A-. I gave an A. And for drinks, we both gave an A-.
I know my grade.
I know my grade as well.
3, 2, 1.
3, 2, 1.
3, 2, 1. F
A-.
for Florence.
Ah!
No, I'm gonna go A-. Yeah.
I think that's clear.
Yes. And to reiterate, this is an A- for our Florence Experience. As we were saying, if we go a different time of year, that experience might be different. And if you go a different time of year, your experience similarly may change. And you may say, they're crazy. This is a solid A. Or, I don't know, maybe it snows there in winter. I have no idea. And the cobblestones are slippery because that's a problem. And you slip and fall and you break your head and you say, this city sucks. They got slippery cobblestones killing people left and right. F for freaking slippery, you know? That can happen.
It could happen.
This is an A- from A grade podcast for our Florence Experience.
Yes, absolutely. And I think we should end this off with a recommendation from each of us of what is the best thing to do in Florence and one recommendation for the city.
Duomo. Climate. You should climb it.
Climate? Like climate change?
No, you should climb the step. What's wrong with you?
It sounded like you were saying climate.
Are you drinking limoncello while I'm not looking?
No, I'm jet lagged.
Oh, that checks out. I did drink a bottle of limoncello last night. I don't know what time
it is right now. I am very confused.
Yeah.
So climbing the Duomo, I totally agree. Highly recommend. Get the ticket. Super cheap. That's a great recommendation. I want to give a different one. My recommendation would be to go to the Duomo Museum rather than see
it's a good one.
The David.
Yeah.
I think even if you don't love museums, this is small. It's a manageable museum. It doesn't take that long. There's such incredible sculptures in there, Renaissance art. It is incredible. Gives you a really great feel for the city. I would do that and recommend that probably over waiting online in the sun for the David.
And I would say if you don't like museums, get real and go suck an egg. That's what I would say.
You would?
I would.
Suck a Florence egg or a Long Island egg?
I think we need to stop now.
Also climb up to the Piazza Michelangelo.
We are still a little jet lagged, I'm realizing now.
Yeah, I'm jet lagged.
As we come to the close, I'm like, oh, we've been talking a while.
Yes.
But yeah, so that's our Florence experience. Really, I get why people schedule trips there now.
I'm so glad we didn't skip it.
I mean, we weaseled that in. That's why we were only there a couple days because we were supposed to have those days in Rome. And we kind of finagled so that we could do that and still have almost a full week in Rome, which we will talk about next week on the podcast. So if you like this nonsense, we're going to have a lot of really great recommendations for Rome because we did it all pretty much. I mean,
and we had a full week. So we really were able to dive deep. We learned
really
a lot.
Saw everything that we wanted to in Rome, which was really cool.
We saw all the big sites and some of the smaller
all
sites
the hits
as well.
Yes. Yeah. So yeah, thanks for joining us. It's good to be back.
It's great to be back. An A- for the city of Florence.
For our experience of the city of Florence. Our experience
of the city of Florence. We loved it. Highly recommend. And thanks for coming along with us. This was so much fun.
Yeah. So next week, come back to Rome with us.
Yes.
You'll enjoy it, I promise.
I promise.
There's some interesting experiences there even to
fly to Rome with us next week.
I wish.
And we will take you on a journey.
We even said when we were leaving, why don't we just stay a few more days in Rome? Let's just change the plane again.
I know. I don't even want to say, but spoiler alert, Rome might be my favorite city in the world.
Rome is pretty sweet.
Yes.
And there's lots of other shenanigans to come. There's so many weird stories. I mean, just insane taxi drivers.
I'll wait till we get to the Amalfi Coast.
But yeah,
It'll probably be 4 episodes total, so we will get back to our regular content. We'll, again, like we said at the beginning, we'll talk about Florence.
we have a surprise review after these Italian experiences, which I'm going to tease and I'm not going to say.
Yes, good idea.
Where we're going after
I'm so excited.
Our first place back after Italy.
I have an idea too. If somebody guesses and sends us an email or an Instagram message at what our surprise review will be after the Italy episodes, we'll send you some merch.
Yeah, I'll take that bet.
Yes.
But you got to be the first one to do it.
The first one to do it.
First one to get it right.
Because if you listen to our exit nonsense this long, you deserve a chance at a prize.
Yeah, so DM us on Instagram or email us if you want free shit.
Yes.
We got
Let us know what you think our review will be after our Italy series. So we're going to have Florence, we just did, Rome, Sorrento, Amalfi Coast, and then a surprise
episode back here in the States.
Back here in the States. Guess what it's going to be.
Guess where we're going to go.
Where we're going to go.
Guess. Think about it. You shouldn't have to think hard. All right. Well, yes. Subscribe, follow, all that crap wherever you're listening. Spotify, Apple, iTunes, Stitcher, Grindr, Tinder, Swindler, all of that. Tinder Swindler. We're on all of that. Go to Patreon, patreon.com/agradepodcast. Sign up, become a Patreon, become an A-grader. You get bonus shit. You get entered into free contests like this, I guess. I don't know. It's awesome. You can help support the podcast. Shout out to our Patreons.
Yes.
And thank you for sticking with us.
Thank you so
through
much.
Our technical delays, because I was worried, oh my God, we're never going to be able to podcast again. And then I remembered we have all the equipment back here.
We're back,
it's not
baby.
Really a problem.
We're back, baby.
We're back, baby.
Yes.
So, yeah, I guess that's everything.
Arrivederci.
Arrivederci. What? What?
Do the normal Italian.
That is
not
normal
the Mario Italian.
It's me, Joe from A-Grade Podcast. That's how Mario talks.
Arrivederci, everybody.
All right. Until next time, stay safe, be well, drink well, and ciao.
Ciao.